We're doing. Hello everyone, I am Aivee Fawkes. I am so happy to be here again for you. I do apologize, I had to restart everything. My stream went kaput. So, もう一回すいません. I will be restarting the story from the beginning. My apologies. So, if you were here earlier, I do apologize. I have to read that whole bit all over again. So, yeah. Again, I am Aivee. This is my Kinfiction reading stream. I'll be reading 3 stories today written by Blue Leader 12, who is a dear kindred who gave me permission to read her fics today for you all. So, do apologize for me scuffed at the start, but I'll be starting again. I won't read everything again, I'll just read the title again. Dry your tears, darling. Everything is okay. Welcome, Dango. I'm so happy to have you here. And of course, the kindred who are listening on the Discord, thank you so much for being here with me today. So we're starting again from the start. Do let me know if the music in the background is too loud. Okay. Dry your tears, darling. Everything is going to be okay. He smiled. He didn't care that your tears were staining his shirt. He realized that he could wash it. It wasn't a big deal. What his priority was making sure you, his kindred, was okay. Ah, good morning. He came home one day to find you hiding your face in your knees. The other parts of the house were desolate and cold without your smile. He searched all over the house for you, only to find you in the bathroom, knees to your chest and face red. He approached you carefully, crouching down to be on your level. His hand reached out to you as you lifted your head to find him, smiling, concerned. You immediately dove your head back into your knees, shivering and breath shaking. He sighed, leaning back, deciding to give you space. I'll be back, he simply stated, standing up. He left you just for a second, but it felt like ages. He came back with a pair of headphones, his phone, and some water. He placed the headphones on your head and pressed play. He smiled at you, his hand touching your cheek, while tears streamed down the side of it. The song was quiet. It had coaxed you. You sighed, listening to the song, eyes moving around and seeing the water. With shaky hands, you brought the water to your lips. Not realizing, Vox was watching you intently. He sat there quietly, legs crossed, with a blurry figure in his lap. You couldn't tell exactly what it was, but instead, that it was a monkey. Your eyes blinked. Clearly, the blurry vision was to find it was Baba. Vox looked up, seeing that you were coming closer. You had taken off the headphones and left them on the ground, moving closer to the monkey and Vox. He smiled, moving Baba just slightly to make room for you on his lap. He sighed softly, hands hugging your frame as you held Baba with your fingers, smiling at him. Vox leaned down to give you a kiss on your forehead. Dry your tears, darling. Everything is going to be okay, he whispered softly. I know. But you're home now, in my arms. It's okay, he continued, playing with your hair softly, hushing you carefully. Eventually, his heartbeat muffled, and you became limp in his arms. He smiled to himself, making sure Baba was tightly secured within your arms, and he picked you up. He looked at the headphones and his phone and walked off. He can get that later. He placed you down into the bed, kissing your cheek and making sure Baba was watching over you. He turned round to retrieve these things, and you had fallen asleep. Nightmares tried to haunt you, but something kept them away, and maybe it was Baba's war cries, or maybe it was Vox's doing. In the morning, you were awakened by a soft hand running down your cheek. You open your eyes to find him standing, and then on his knees. "Hey, baby," he chuckled. "I love you, Vox." "I love you too, Kindred." That was short and sweet. Exactly what the writer intended the story to be. Something to bring comfort to whoever is reading it, as Fox has been such a comfort to so many kindred around the world when we're having a hard time. The next fic is called not that one. Okay, just making sure it's appropriate. Okay, so the next one I'm reading is another sort of fluffy one. I definitely wanted to read the fluff ones first and then go for something a bit more daring for the last fic. So, moving on to another fic by the exact same writer. Here we go to Fright Night. Summary. Never invite a stranger into your home as a thanks for using his umbrella when it rains and you were unprepared. Notes. Trigger warning. Blood, obviously. Someone on Twitter came up with an idea of a vampire fox. Fox, I said fox. So why not write a fic? This is dedicated to you, by the way. Also, the writer says they enjoyed incorporating bits of Vox's favourite tag. Please note, this is all fictional. If you truly believe you are a relationship with the Vox Akuma, then please take a break and touch some grass. Thank you. Here we are. It was raining one day. When Kindred hurried to class, their supplies clutched to their chests, quickly running into one of the classrooms. The rain poured down the windows, and the grey horizon couldn't tell you if it was night or day. But Kindred knew. They had decided to get some extra work done within the library, and did not know it would have started raining. Now, they were hiding under the architecture with no umbrella whatsoever. These supplies were important. It was their thesis they were working on a study about mythical and unexplainable phenomena that could not be backed up by any scientific reasoning. Kindred was never a fan of science. Their existence themselves was a walking reason why science fails us sometimes. They watched the rain for a while. They smiled at how this rain resembled tears, someone above expressing their emotions, or a heartbreak happened. They sighed, looking at the time on their watch. and began to tap their foot, running through their mind to see any ideas whatsoever to get home. "Oh, hello," a voice spoke. His voice was calm and suave. It was British. Kindred immediately jumped at this, while the man chuckled. His hair went down to his shoulders, raven black with blood-red highlights. He wore a black turtleneck with a dark brown blazer and blue ripped jeans and white shoes. His fingers decorated with long, grown-out, well-taken-care-of nails wrapped around the handle of an umbrella. "Hello. My apologies for jumping. Didn't hear you come up." Kindred spoke, immediately falling in love with the calm voice that this man had been gifted with. He smirked, not daring to show his teeth. "You've come unprepared, haven't you?" He laughed, holding the umbrella tighter. Kindred nodded, simply in response. The man chuckled, tapping his foot, then coming up with an idea. His eyes stared into their souls, golden with pink hues, like summertime sunsets. "Apologize for that." "I could take you home," he hummed. "I simply don't want to get wet either. This jacket was expensive. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let that poor thing like you out in the rain." He leaned in as Kindred widened their eyes. Something in the back of their head kept going off. Was this man like them? He was unconventional. "Yes, that does seem awfully forward of me. I promise I am not in any way trying to get your personal information," he said, reassuring the worried amalgamation. Kindred hummed. "All right," Kindred agreed. The man nodded and held the umbrella above the two of them, making sure that they were carefully protected and shielded from the rain. He glanced down to see Kindred shivering, almost with their books and bag close to their chest. He chuckled, stopping for a moment under a building to give them their jacket to walk home. "My name's Vox, by the way." "Kindred," they smiled. Vox and the mysterious man who just happened to show up right when Kindred needed a way out hummed in acknowledgement and smiled. They both knew that both of their names were strange and unconventional. One meaning voice in Latin, Kindred, was well voiced in languages, and the other meaning a close relationship. The rain started to die down softly as the two of them approached Kindred's home. It was small and quaint. Kindred walked to the steps of her home, getting under the arch of the roof as she fiddled with the keys to get inside. Vox smiled, beginning to turn away. He bowed at the strange student, but something in both of them told them to linger. "Please, for my thanks, come inside. I'll pour you a cup of tea, perhaps." Kindred smiled, offering and inviting him in. Vox chuckled and nodded. "All right," and walked inside. Over a cup of tea, they discussed the weather, but that didn't last long. Both weren't fans of small talk. They switched to the topic of the ancient and the complicated lore of a piece of literature moved into art form, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Kindred listened every second of it. The two of them exchanged numbers and soon became friends. Seeing each other around the campus, Kindred had wondered if they were a professor. In the summertime, they enrolled in new classes, and to their happiness, they found that they were right. Now Kindred told themselves to focus on the content rather than the teacher. But sometimes that did prove wrong, especially when he would smirk or get passionate. His sleeves on his button-down rolled up to expose the forearms. Exposing it was a lot paler than most. One day it was raining and it was nighttime. The rain poured from the windows and onto the porch. Kindred was coiled up in a cardigan, drinking their hot beverage of choice, watching the rain and loving every second of it. Their head turned to hear a loud noise and a familiar voice. "Hello," they called out, putting the tea down on the desk and running off into the kitchen. There he stood more like hunched over, holding his weight on the counter, his shirt unbuttoned, his chest exposed, and his eyes red. Kindred took a step back, seeing that it was their teacher. "Professor?" they asked, as Vox jumped. "Oh my God, what's up?" they asked, immediately rushing over to them. Vox groaned in pain, and he lashed out, telling Kindred to stay back. Kindred's eyes glazed over as they sighed. "You're in my house sometimes. Tell me you need help." "Wait." They paused for a second. "How did you get into my house?" "You're a smart thing. How come you never figured it out?" he joked, breathing heavily, skin glistening under the moonlight. "You're a vampire?" Kendrick gasped, and he nodded, a few loose ends of hair falling out of place around his face. God, he looked gorgeous. They ran over to the vampire, immediately realizing. "How long have you gone without blood?" "Ever since I started teaching," he explained. As Kindred nodded, they immediately slapped them. "You've starved yourself of life force for that long? How are you not dead yet?" They growled, sighing. They took both of his hands and helped him to the couch. "All right, you're simply drinking mine then," they told him. He shook his head. "No, I'm your professor. That's unprofessional." "And you're in my house. Tell me who started it." They laughed, while Vox sighed. "You're into me, aren't you?" He looked at their lips while they ripped their shirt down to expose their neck. "You'd think, wouldn't you?" They smiled, adjusting themselves to prop their neck close to him. His hand found their face and adjusted it so their neck was straight. He chuckled, looking into their face. Fuck it," he sighed, leaning in. He kissed them. They widened their eyes in shock, but breathless, melting into it. Their lips danced with each other for some time, as Vox found one of their hands, not their dominant one, of course. He broke from the kiss and leaned down to kiss their hand. "I'm sorry. Perhaps one wouldn't hurt," he sighed, piercing their skin with his fangs. Kindred and him met eye contact, and they turned red. Kindred moved their head back, gasping, seeing Vox close his eyes to drink. God, his eyelashes were gorgeous. He broke from the hand, wiping his mouth, catching his breath. Holy shit, that was the best I've tasted. My blood is nothing special. It's because you've starved yourself, Foxy. Whatever, you do not say a word to the class about this. He hummed as Kindred hummed. His hands found their way to Kindred's soft neck and kissed it before drinking more. The end. I quite like that one. I think it was just the appropriate amount of, what's the word? Sweetness and a bit of romance. It wasn't overdone in any part. I do so enjoy this writer. Quite brilliant. Yes. Shall we continue? On to, I guess, the last one. So we have one more to read. Okay, this time I'm going to turn off my notifications so you won't hear all that buzzing anymore. I'm so sorry about that. So the next one we're reading is a newer one, and it's called Love Languages. And if you were here for Vox's stream yesterday, you might have an idea what this could be about. So here we are, Love Languages by Blue Leader 12. Summary. Kindred is afraid of Vox Akuma's love language. Kindred always pours their love out for them. So Vox helps Kindred overcome the fear of touch by giving them a massage. Sitting on the couch in a comfortable silence, Kindred's eyes were reading their Twitter timeline. Fun little stories about lovers filled their heart up as their lover took a love quiz next to them. Kindred knew perfectly well what theirs was. Their form was sitting straight, not nearly as close to Vox as he would like, but he paid it no mind. He smiled at his results and gave Kindred a tap on their shoulder, just softly. Kindred's form tensed up just slightly, but they took the phone to see the results. Deep down, Kindred's heart sank to their stomach. Their form went out. Their form went stiff and cold, but then smiled and recomposed themselves. A smile brightened up the room as they handed the phone back to Vox while beginning to speak. "That's lovely to hear, darling," they told him comfortably. Vox smiled back at them with a little bit of a laugh. "I always thought it was so," he explained as Kindred nodded. They looked at their phone, gripping it at the ends, knuckles turning white. He sensed a strange uncomfortableness from Kindred. He sighed, getting up, brushing it off as something he remembered he had to do. Pressing a forehead kiss to their head carefully, hands carefully pressed to the couch instead of their shoulders, he smiled at Kindred. "Just remembered I have to go to the store. We need more bell peppers." He chuckled at the bell peppers note Kindred nodded, looking up at his eyes swirling with emotion and gentleness. Kindred swooned at his eyes and left their phone to pay him some attention. "All right then, love you, Vox," Kindred stated as Vox kissed their nose.
"I love you too, Kindred."
He walked off to their shared bedroom to grab his shoes and wallet. In their bedroom, his eyes drifted to the photo enclosed with a beautiful frame. Kindred stood next to him with their hand up in the form of a peace sign, and he was next to her too. Some space was in between the two of them. They felt close, always, right? Vox shook his head, brushing the matter out of his mind, and he went out of the door, smiling at Kindred. In the grocery store, he saw a couple. They were smiling and holding hands throughout the store and brushing up against each other, close in both physical and mental aspects. Vox looked down at the bell peppers in his cart and paid for them. He got back into his car and sat there. The radio sang about love and songs involving the two lovebirds touching. Vox wiped his face and drove out of the parking space to find his way back home. Meanwhile, at home, Kindred had cleaned the entire house while he was away. They tidied up the pillows in the living room, and they made sure Baba's throne was well cleaned. The kitchen was spotless, and so was everything else. They felt a note in the living room table full of words and of affirmations, telling him how much they loved them. They had already spent a significant amount of time together early the day, and Kindred had placed a small little red box next to the note. And then Vox came home. He set the bag down on the kitchen counter, catching a glimpse of the box and note. Vox walked over to them, picking them up and reading the note before opening the gift. He ran his fingers around the paper, reading the words, warming his heart, while Kindred was asleep in their shared bedroom.
Truth be told, I'm scared of physical touch, but I'd be glad to open it if it was you.
They wrote down in a note.
You're incredibly gentle, sweet, and kind. I do not want to see you sad because of the distance between us.
The note read. As Fox wiped his tear away, he moved on to the gift, which was a necklace. The necklace had the initials K and V.
Maybe this might seem like I'm holding you too.
Fox looked confused for a moment. Why was Kindred so loving and open towards all the other love languages, but not his? His heart sank to his stomach, putting the peppers in the fridge. He slipped the necklace over his head and began to call for them.
Kindred, darling, I'm home. The gift was so very kind.
He walked around the home and stopped in the doorway. He found them asleep on his side of the bed. He approached them slowly, seeing they wore a bracelet with the same initials. Their arms were close to their chest, but something black was in their arms. They had their face buried in it. Seeing it was his own shirt, he laughed quietly, sitting on the edge of the bed, hands slowly hovering over their head, wanting to stroke their head. but hesitated. He didn't get up, however. He stayed there. He stayed and waited for them to wake up.
Hi, Kindred.
His voice was soft, filled through their ears. Kindred opened their eyes to find Vox sitting next to them. They stretched carefully to make sure not to knock Vox off with their arms or wings. He looked beautiful, and Kindred yawned.
Hey, sleepyhead. Thank you for the gift,
he whispered, hand slowly inching towards theirs. They didn't seem to notice the hand. They placed their hand down on his unintentionally, sending them into a frenzy. He looked at them, eyes widened. Shh.
It's okay. Can I hold you? I won't hurt you. You know this,
he whispered, arms reaching out for them. They surrendered and slowly inched their way into his arms.
There we go.
He chuckled, giving Kindred a kiss on the forehead. He asked if he could play with their hair. They shivered and nodded carefully. After a little bit of silence, he posed a question.
Kindred, love, why are you so frightened of my touch?
He asked, while Kindred looked up. It's not your touch, Vox. I'm just scared of touch in general. They spoke, while Vox leaned down.
Oh, baby, it's okay. I know your past was hard.
He sighed, kissing their hand once again. I want to feel your touch. I know it's your love language, but... Kindred pleaded as Vox smiled and chuckled. It's hard. My past lovers weren't so kind, like you.
That's all I needed.
He snuggled close to them.
I have an idea, if it's okay with you,
he asked. Kindred nodded, looked curiosity.
I'll give you a back rub. It'll be slow, and I won't do anything. You'll feel my hands and my touch, and know it's safe, okay?
He suggested, while Kindred sighed. All right. They agreed. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Kindred's hands rested in between their thighs, and they looked down at them. Vox sat behind them, his hands on their shoulders, slowly moving across their skin. He noticed the goosebumps on their skin as he pressed a soft kiss to the back of their skin.
It's okay,
he whispered, his hands beginning to move along around their shoulders.
Feel my hands? Yeah, they're soft.
He asked, as Kindred nodded and let out a hum in agreement. The goosebumps began to disappear off their skin, and their bodies slowly became undone. He let out a smile, not speaking a word.
Oh, you're beautiful,
he whispered after a while. What? Kindred asked, taken aback.
I said you're beautiful, and you're all mine, and I'm yours.
He roamed his hands around their skin.
You do so much for me, Kindred. Let me return the favor.
He smiled, filling them with praise.
You're so great at cleaning up my messes. I'm glad to have such a skilled lover.
He spoke, words of praise filling the bedroom, while Kindred began to grow sleepy. They didn't speak a word, only just listened. For once, They were free. They relaxed as Vox poured their love on them. Eventually, Kindred fell into his arms, dozing off. Vox smiled, kissing their forehead, this time holding their hand.
We'll take it slow, okay, Kindred? But for tonight, let me hold you.
He squeezed them close to his chest. I'm scared of touch, but yours is the only one I'm willing to be brave for. The end. Another beautiful, sweet story by the talented writer, Blue Leader. It's been an absolute pleasure reading for you all today. Again, don't worry if you're here watching a VOD or not here live. I always appreciate anyone who stops by. I really enjoyed that so much. I hope I can make this a regular occurrence where I read sweet, comforting stories to Kindred so they feel a bit, soothed. It's reading out loud is something I really enjoy. In the future, I would like to do other types of ASMR, but reading is something I'm really good at. At least I like to think that I am. And I'm happy I was able to do this for you all today. I guess we'll say goodbye soon. Our Lord is streaming at the moment. Well, he's joining someone's stream. And then he's going to be streaming later tonight. So I don't want any of you to miss it. And of course, I don't want to miss it myself. So I'll be leaving you now. But just remember that our Lord, our Vox Akuma, loves all his kindred so very much. And I'm sure that he's thinking of all of us sometimes during the day, whether he's working out or eating or playing with Baba. We're in his thoughts, just like he's in ours. Good night, sweet kindred. I'll see you later. Special thanks to Blue Leader 12 again for giving me permission to read their works here on this channel. If you in future would like your own fics read, just drop me a line in the Discord and I will be very happy to read anything you write. See you soon. Goodbye, my Volpies. I love you so much. Mwah.